We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Night Terrors Night's End, Issue 1. This is a one-shot tie-in to the Night Terrors miniseries from DC Comics in 2023. This was written by Joshua Williamson, art by Howard Porter, Giuseppe, Camuncoli, Stefano, Nesi, and Trevor, Hairsine. Colors by Beredo, letters by Troy Peteri, edited by Ben Abernathy. Covers by Howard Porter and Romulo Fajardo Jr., and the cover's okay. The heroes are real tiny for some reason, but it really didn't do anything for me. Deadman and Insomnia probably should have been a little smaller and the center of their heads further up in the image, and you could have made Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman bigger and had the bad guys a little bigger. Otherwise, it just looks like they're in some sort of mess. You can't really tell the bad guys at first glance. So the first couple of pages are a giant waste of time. It's some kid having a nightmare, and they use this as an end cap for the stories. And the first part is about 5 pages of this kid having a nightmare and, oh, superheroes are scary. It's just a giant waste of space. And then there's this big 2-page splash recapping the entire miniseries for you. And it looks like Insomnia is winning, and he gives Deadman a family to kind of get Deadman out of the way. So with Deadman distracted by dreams, he goes after the superheroes using the Nightmare Stone. Well, Deadman has to break out of the nightmare and help his friends and stop Insomnia. Wesley Dodds thankfully is there to help out, and they have to break out the Dream Stone in order to try and stop him, and it looks like somebody may be making the ultimate sacrifice. That takes up the first 2/3 of the book. Insomnia does seem to suffer a fate that is pretty harsh, and he may be gone forever, but probably not. Somebody will dust him off in 6 months just to annoy all of us. There's some resolution with Dodds, and Batman takes a big nap. Seriously, they did like 2 pages devoted to Batman taking a nap. And then we get the end cap with the little kid being like, superheroes are scary, blah blah. And then Amanda Waller shows up to be like, oh my god, everybody distrusts superheroes now because of nightmares. And we learn who ended up with the Nightmare Stone, and we get a new villain called Dr. Hate, which is super lazy. And Waller is apparently trying to destroy all superheroes because she's not the most overused character in DC history since Maxwell Lord. I really don't understand why they keep relying on this crutch of Amanda Waller. Just kill her off already. She's not a good character anymore. They've made her less interesting by constantly watering her down by doing the same stuff over and over again of trying to take out the Justice League and all the superheroes. It's really tiresome and overplayed. So I'm not impressed by that little lead into further storytelling. The main story was a little dragged out, especially with these end cap pieces with the little kid and her family. I thought that was just filler. There's a lot of large panels in here, and the first half of this issue could have been tacked on to issue 4 and made it an actual miniseries instead of forcing you to buy another issue that isn't part of the miniseries. So they're tricking you into having to spend an extra $6 that you really didn't need to spend. They could have put that part of this issue on that book and made it an extra $1. Instead, they did this to bump up sales, and it was really, really lazy. Also, the art looks pretty rushed in this one. The first half of the book looks fine, but once they get into the final fight, it's kind of a mess. The superheroes really don't do anything other than kill time for Deadman and Wesley Dodds to do something, and most of what was tied in from the micro series books, the little 2-parters they did, really was at best serviceable. It was just little appearances. None of those books really came into play with any of this. There was this big lead-in for the Batgun creature, the Super Reaver, and the Wonder Woman monster, and they were just henchmen, effectively, that were background filler for the fighting. That was it. They weren't characters in the book. They weren't big threats. They were just there to keep the main Justice League busy while Deadman and Wesley Dodds moved the story along. So I have to say, this was a huge miss for me. There's just too much pointless filler. A lot of this stuff could have been in another issue, and it would have made more sense. And instead, they want to put these little lead-ins in to other storylines, and I didn't care about those. I'm not buying those books. I don't care about Amanda Waller's plans because it has nothing to do with this story except peripherally, and it was really, really frustrating. The whole Dr. Hate thing was stupid, and apparently that's going to be some character we already know. I don't really care. I'm sure somebody somewhere cares, but it had nothing to do with the storyline, so I really didn't didn't see the point in it. So if you're going to pick this series up, I would say grab it out of the bargain bin. The majority of it is fine, but they're obviously marketing this for the trade paperback or to get you to buy a whole bunch of single issues. Most of the two-part stories that they did, where they suspended all the regular books to do these little two-part micro series, were just not worth the money. And the handful that were interesting still weren't worth $4 or $5. There were only a few that really stood out as being quality. And the miniseries itself was largely fine, but it was definitely padded in this issue and First Blood in order to get you to buy those 2 issues instead of just making it a 6-part miniseries. So it was to trick speculators into picking up an issue 1 and to manipulate regular customers into having to buy 2 other issues because you're not going to understand the 4-part miniseries without Night Terror's First Blood and Night Terror's Night's End. You don't get a complete story. So it's the usual kind of marketing trick that I've come to expect from the big 2, and it's really disappointing to see. Also, about halfway through the book, most of the art started to look really rushed and kind of messy and a little sloppy. So I was really disappointed by a lot of things with this, so I'm not going to recommend it unless you can get it cheap. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.